Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and I wanted to make this video. I felt like kind of doing a vlog related to this for whatever reason, and also at the same time I kind of wanted to do something with this beard before I shave it off, because I'm going to shave it off pretty much right after I make this video. But anyways, reason why I'm doing this is because I'm talking to you all about the new Nexus phone. Now, I am not getting one of the 2015 models, which is the Nexus 5X and the Nexus 6P. So for anybody who came for that answer, if that's all you wanted, you can leave. And thanks for the viewership. But if you want to stick around and hear why, that's what I'm going to talk about. So, for anyone that doesn't know, a decent amount of people who have seen my, Android device or phone-related videos on the channel, I don't do that many because that's not really my niche or my thing, but I do like the Nexus variant of phones and devices. Right now I have a Nexus 6, which came out in 2014. I got this on launch. I was really lucky enough to get one on launch, honestly. Prior to that, I was rocking the Nexus 4 for my main phone. And on the side of that, I have a tablet right there. I have the 2013 edition of the Nexus 7, so it's pretty safe to say I really like the Nexus lineup of devices. Now, the reason why I like these so much is because, first off, they are pure Android, and they get priority. Essentially, the Nexus phones are a line of phones from Google that Google ends up partnering with companies, so Asus, LG, Motorola, like right here, and then they will brand a phone a Nexus phone for a year, and that is supposed to be their flagship "this is Android" phone. When people think of Android, they want you to think of this phone right here. So Samsung has participated, as I've said, LG, Asus, Motorola, several other companies have participated in these programs. So Google does not make the phones. Google just handles the phones and they brand them, but there's another company that ends up making the phone, and it depends every single year on what ends up happening. Now, the reason why I also like these phones as well is because not only is pure Android, like it's one of the few things I actually like stock, although I do modify it a bit, but I like stock Android. I don't like, TouchWiz or anything like that that's on Samsung phones. One thing they also do is they normally put them, aside from this phone, this is an outlier right here, they normally market them at a pretty decent price. Normally what they try and do is they try and sell you the device for the cost plus 5%. The Nexus 6 was one of the rare exceptions to that. This phone, 32 gig model, retailed for $650, which a lot of people hated. You gotta realize this. These phones, you have to buy them, most of the time you buy them through Google. They don't have any type of region locking on them or anything, so they're already region free. Not region, I'm thinking of gaming terms. They're unlocked. They're carrier unlocked is what I'm trying to say. So you're able to get them like that directly from Google, and these phones are normally anywhere from $300 to $400, ranging around $350, something like that. So all of a sudden, this phone spiked up to $650. I did not have an issue with that. Reason being is that I knew for the drastic spike up they were going to do, because the Nexus 5 was like $350 to $400, this spiked up to, $650, $700. I knew that they were not wanting to cheap out because they've been getting better with each phone. Now, I started with the Nexus 4, but prior to that, I know a lot of people that had the Galaxy Nexus that said, the battery was just horrible on there. The other phones, they said they felt really dated only after a few months. The Nexus 4 was pretty much the first really good Nexus phone, and I liked mine, but there were a few problems it had. First off, no matter what I did, it seemed to get hot. A personal thing as well, too, I would have liked a bigger phone. I would have liked a better resolution on it. I would have liked a better camera. And biggest thing was I needed a better battery. That battery would die no matter what I did. I put custom kernels on there, custom ROMs, Greenify, anything I could think of, baselining it down to the basic apps that I need. And if it just sat there, if it just did nothing, it would burn at about 10% per hour with the battery life. And then if I was using it, it would maybe go down to, 6-7 hours on one charge. And when I'm out of my house for, anywhere from 7 to 10 or 12 hours at a time, and especially with, classes and work and everything where I'm heavily reliant on email and on my phone because of that, it was a pretty big issue. By the time it became an issue for me, though, the Nexus 5 was out, and I didn't want to get a Nexus 5, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to wait, I'm going to tough it out, I'm going to wait for the new line of phones to come out, which I was actually going to be going over. My plan was originally I was going to wait for the Note 4 to come out and buy it immediately. Then I ended up using a Note 3 at one point that summer, And I remembered why I didn't like Samsung. I didn't like, their software on there, which people say you can just root it and all that stuff and then install, CyanogenMod or whatever. But then they also wanted to make everything proprietary by putting Knox on there and all that. And I just didn't really feel like supporting a company who does that to their devices. They're pretty much trying to Appleify Android, which is what I don't like about Samsung specifically. So I decided to wait for the Nexus 6. Now, I've been getting a phone every year for the past few years, which is also very abnormal of me. I'm normally a one phone per 2 years kind of guy. However, I'll explain pretty much what's happened, right? In 2010, I got a new phone just because I needed a new phone. It wasn't a smartphone at the time. We just had an upgrade, we used it, whatever, that was it. In 2011, we decided to get smartphones. So I got a Samsung Galaxy S 4G. It wasn't an S4, it was a Galaxy S, but the 4G variant of it, which wasn't really 4G. So I ended up getting that in 2011. In 2012, we switched over to AT&T. I got a iPhone 3GS for $1. 2013, I ended up getting the Nexus 4. 2014, I ended up getting the Nexus 6, because in 2013, I got the 2012 model of the Nexus. The thing is, though, getting back to this right here, the reason why I'm not upgrading is because I think the Nexus 5X and the 6P look great. I think if you're in the market for a new phone right now, personally, if it was me, I would go for the Nexus 6P. Mostly because for the price difference between the 5X and the 6P, you're getting a lot more for that small price difference. So I recommend spending the extra money and get the 6P. However, a lot of people do not want a giant phone like this that's like a TV in your pocket. Like some people really think it's like that. So I understand why the 5X would also appeal to people, which is very good of Google to do that. Because, for example, a lot of people who went from the 4 to the 5 thought it was an okay size difference. People who wanted to go from the Nexus 5 to the Nexus 6 didn't do it. A lot of people did not get this phone because, one, it was too expensive, or two, because they said it was too big. So now they are doing that whole appeal where they're saying, if people like me want a big phone, I can buy the 6P. If you don't want a huge phone, but you still want a pretty good smartphone, you can get the 5X, which both of them are pretty good deals, honestly. So as I said, I would still be wanting to get one. However, the big thing is also with this phone is that I've had it for about a year now, and it does not feel like it has deteriorated or gotten slow or anything. In fact, it's gotten better. In fact, I'm also re-recording this video because prior to me, the first time I made this video, I was talking about Lollipop on this phone. I now have Marshmallow on this phone, and aside from one thing that annoys me, they end up changing how security works on Android, so now the only way I can root this phone on stock firmware is if I put on a custom kernel. I would rather have everything, stock, like everything be, official Android, and then I'll root it and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I can't do that, at least for now. So right now, I'm rocking a custom kernel on here. But aside from that, I have stock OS, stock radio, all that stuff, and then it's rooted. And it's pretty damn great. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because Marshmallow has actually made this phone even better. My battery life is better on here, which it was already great, and it's running even cooler as well. This phone barely gets lukewarm anymore. And before that, there was only rarely that it would get hot. And it wouldn't get burning hot like my Nexus 4 would either. I've been extremely impressed with the build quality on this phone. So even right now, it did dramatically decrease in price, where about a year after the phone came out, you get it for $350 or so. Right now, I've even seen it for like $300 in some places. So I would even say, if you're looking for a new phone, the Nexus 6 is not a bad deal. For what you're getting and for the price, as I said, you can get them for about $350 right now. It's pretty great. I don't really regret paying the $650 for mine because I really wanted a new phone at that time, and I was able to get the new Nexus phone at the time as well too. And the Nexus 4, I mean, it's still usable. It's just, it was kind of making me pull my hair out, and it was getting to the point where there were multiple times where my phone would just die or it was dead or whatever. I even replaced the battery on that too. I forgot to say that. I replaced the battery. That really didn't do anything to help it out either. So that's why, with the Nexus 4, the more I updated it, the more it almost showed its age, where yes, it might get a little faster, got a little smoother, but it was also getting hotter a bunch of the time. The battery life was getting worse with every update. Battery life has gotten better with updates on here. Now, there are some days where the battery life is not that good, but that's mostly because I've traced it back to a certain app just going rogue, or a certain app just needing to be, killed and then rebooted, or it needs an update because there's a memory leak issue on there, or anything like that, or I just need to reboot my phone. Anything like that. Those are the biggest issues I have dealt with. With M, because with Marshmallow, because the way it loads up, apps and everything, the way it does management on there, so much better. and it has prolonged the life on this phone even more. So right now, I have absolutely no desire to upgrade. Now, if somebody gave me a Nexus 6P or a 5X for free, I would definitely take it. But because that's not the case, I really don't feel like buying one. So, you know, maybe next year, I'm sure next year, the new Nexus phones or phone will be pretty cool, and it might be something I want to get at that time. And I hope this phone doesn't, you know, show its age and all at that time, but for now, I've had this phone for about a year. It has been great. I love my Nexus 6. I don't plan to upgrade to the 5X or the 6P. Those are the reasons why. So anyways, as I said, if you all are interested in those phones, I would recommend them. They look great. Don't ask me about other phones. That's another thing as well. A lot of people, I'll get asked about other tablets, other phones, anything like that. Listen, I don't really look up that stuff. I know there's a lot of people who obsess over phones and everything. I'm the weird Arab. All of my family who is Arab and into phones and everything, they research the hell out of phones, like all the time. For me, the only time I obsess about phones is when it's time for me to upgrade and I'm looking at the phones I want. Once I get the phone that I want, I don't care about them anymore. That's it. So I obsess over phones once every 2 years about that. I was really obsessing over the Nexus 6. I was looking up all the leaks and all that before it came out. But anyways, that's besides the point. So this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. Let me know what you all think of this, and let me know what you think of this, too.